All right, folks, buckle up because we are about to take a deep dive into one of the most exciting matches of the IPL so far.
Yeah, things are really heating up already.
Definitely. And today we're going to dissect every single detail of the Rajasthan Royals versus the Kolkata Knight Riders clash from March 26th, 2025.
Match number 6 of the IPL season already.
Can you believe it? And this one was a real thriller.
KKR just completely dominated, won by 8 wickets.
And that's exactly why we're here, to go beyond those simple headlines and really understand how this victory unfolded. We're going to break down the pivotal moments, the key performances, everything that shaped the result.
Using some really interesting match analysis to help guide us.
Exactly. So if you're ready to go deeper than the scorecard, let's get started.
Let's do it.
So we'll begin by rewinding back to the start of the match, the Rajasthan Royals innings, and KKR won the toss and elected to bowl first.
Yeah, interesting decision, right?
Definitely. What do you think was the thinking behind that?
Well, looking at the match report, they called it a sticky pitch.
Oh, interesting.
And you know what that means?
A bit of moisture.
Exactly, and that can really impact how the ball behaves, especially for spinners.
Makes it turn more.
Right, and it comes onto the bat slower, so it makes it more difficult for the batsmen to time their shots, especially early on.
So KKR putting the Royals in to bat first on this sticky pitch sounds like a pretty smart tactic.
Definitely gives them a potential advantage right from the start.
Okay, so Rajasthan's openers, Jaiswal and Samson, they put up a decent start, 29 off 24 for Jaiswal and 13 off 11 for Samson. Were they on track for a big total, or were there early warning signs?
I mean, they were definitely getting runs on the board.
Yeah.
But the run rate wasn't exactly setting the world on fire. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the match analysis actually suggests that the introduction of KKR's spin attack, that's really what changed the game.
Oh, really? So that was the turning point?
Yeah, it seems that way.
Okay, well, let's talk about these spinners then, because Varun Chakravarthi and the debutant Moeen Ali, they were absolutely phenomenal. Their combined figures were just remarkable.
2 for 17 for Chakravarthi and 2 for 23 for Moeen Ali in his first IPL match.
That is incredible, and the match recap really highlights how effective they were on that sticky surface, leading to a dramatic collapse for the Rajasthan Royals. Can you describe that for us?
It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
Oh, wow.
The Royals were cruising at 67 for 1, and then suddenly they lost 4 wickets for just 15 runs.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, from 67 for 1 to 82 for 5. Talk about a momentum swing.
That is brutal.
And it just shows how those spinners completely choked the scoring. They forced errors. The batsmen got impatient, tried to force the pace, and that's when the wickets started tumbling.
So Chakravarthi and Moeen Ali, they bowled with amazing control, and they just exploited those conditions perfectly.
Like seasoned pros.
It sounds like they had the Royals in a real stranglehold during those middle overs.
Absolutely.
So after that collapse, Ryan Parag, he came in and he tried to fight back with the correct fire. 25 off 15 balls. Was that a sign of recovery or just a brief moment of resistance?
Well, it definitely injected some energy back into the innings. But the fact that he also fell victim to Chakravarthi, I think that just shows how dominant KKR's spin attack was on that day. They were just relentless.
Right, so a valiant effort from Parag, but not enough to really turn the tide.
It was a spark, but the fire never really got going.
Then we had Dhruv Jurel. He ended up being Rajasthan's top scorer with 33 off 28 balls, a gritty knock, but he was eventually dismissed by Harshit Rana. Was he fighting a lone battle out there?
He definitely showed some resilience,
Yeah.
33 might not seem like a huge score in T20s.
True.
But on a day where most of the top order struggled against the spin, his innings was crucial in helping Rajasthan reach a somewhat respectable total.
Right.
It's just that without any consistent support from the other end, even a determined knock, his can only do so much.
So his dismissal really put a damper on any hopes of a late surge for the Royals.
I think so, yeah.
Speaking of a late surge, Jofra Archer, he came in and smashed 16 off just 7 balls right at the end. Was that a case of too little too late?
Yeah, definitely too little too late. I mean, those late runs, they always help.
Of course.
But when you've already lost so much momentum in the middle overs, a few big hits at the end, they're not going to make a huge difference.
So yeah, it added a few runs to the total, but it wasn't enough to salvage the innings.
Not even close.
So to sum up Rajasthan's innings, it seems like those regular wickets, particularly to the spinners, they just prevented them from building any real momentum, and that resulted in that modest total of 151 for 9.
Yeah, they never really recovered from that middle order collapse.
Right, yeah.
And KKR's bowlers, especially Chakravarthy and Ali, they deserve a lot of credit for maintaining that relentless pressure and never letting the Rajasthan batsmen settle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They were outstanding. Okay, so now let's shift our focus to the Kolkata Knight Riders chase. And the match analysis mentions that they approached it with a clear plan. What do you think that plan was?
Well, they had a relatively chaseable target. And we know that the pitch was playing into the hands of the spinner, so I think their strategy was to build a solid foundation, avoid any risky shots early on, and then accelerate once they had a good platform.
Makes sense.
And having a seasoned veteran like Quinton de Kock at the top of the order, well, that just fits perfectly into that approach. You know, he can provide both stability and firepower.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They did lose Moeen Ali early on for just 5 off 12 balls. Did that early setback cause any concern, or did they stick to their plan?
I think there might have been a moment of hesitation, you know?
Right.
But with a target of only 152 and the batting depth they had, I doubt it caused a major shift in their overall strategy.
Especially with Di de Kock still at the crease.
Right. His presence would have been reassuring, and he could guide the chase even with the early loss.
And speaking of Quinton de Kock, what an innings he played.
A masterclass.
An unbeaten 97 off 61 balls with 8 fours and 6 sixes. Just incredible.
He is unstoppable.
The analysis highlights his measured start and then his incredible acceleration. Can you talk us through what made his innings so special?
Well, what impressed me the most was his control. He knew when to attack and when to consolidate.
Right.
He reached his 50 off 36 balls, so he was being patient, respecting the conditions early on. But then he just shifted gears seamlessly and scored the next 47 runs off just 25 balls.
Yeah.
That's just remarkable.
That is some serious acceleration.
It was like he had a switch he could just flip, you know, and suddenly he was hitting boundaries for fun.
So he assessed the situation, built a platform, and then unleashed his full arsenal.
Exactly, and that's the hallmark of a truly great T20 batsman. They can anchor the innings and then explode at the right time.
And that's exactly what he did. He took the pressure off the other batsmen and just steered KKR to victory.
Single-handedly, almost.
He did have some good support from his captain, Ajinkya Rahane, who contributed 18 off 15 balls before being dismissed by Wanindu Hasaranga. How important was that partnership in the context of the chase?
Oh, it was crucial.
Yeah.
It steadied the ship after Ali's early dismissal, and it allowed de Kock to settle in and get his eye in. Rahane's knock might not have been flashy, but it was exactly what KKR needed at that stage. You know, every run in a chase counts, and that partnership laid a solid foundation for the rest of the innings.
Absolutely. Then we saw the young Ankush Raghuvanshi come in and play a really mature knock and unbeaten 22 off 17 balls. That's a valuable contribution under pressure for such a young player.
Definitely shows a lot of maturity and composure for someone so young.
Yeah.
He came in after the captain's dismissal, so the pressure was on, and he had to support de Kock and make sure they didn't lose any momentum.
And he did exactly that.
He played his role perfectly, rotating the strike, keeping the scoreboard ticking over, and giving de Kock the freedom to keep attacking.
The analysis points to the 17th over as the decisive one, where de Kock took on Jaffer Archer and smashed a 4 and 2 sixes to seal the victory, taking on a bowler like Archer to finish the game. That's a real statement.
Yeah, it takes some serious guts to go after Archer like that.
He's one of the most fearsome bowlers in the world.
Exactly, and for de Kock to not only survive that over, but to actually dominate it, that just shows the incredible confidence and form he was in.
It was like he was saying, we're not messing around, we're here to win and win convincingly.
That's right.
And a convincing win it was. They chased down the target in just 17.3 overs with 15 balls to spare. That's a pretty emphatic victory.
Yeah, it was a clinical performance from KKR. They weathered the early storm, built a solid partnership, and then accelerated at just the right time.
It was a complete team effort, but de Kock was undoubtedly the star of the show.
He was a difference maker.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit and look at the key factors and performances that really shaped this match.
Yeah.
We've already talked about KKR's disciplined bowling, especially the spinners, and de Kock's magnificent innings. But the analysis also points to Rajasthan Royals' bowling struggles. Their key bowlers, Archer and Masaranga, they are both quite expensive. What went wrong for them?
It's interesting how the two teams' bowling attacks performed so differently, right?
Yeah, night and day.
KKR's spinners thrived on that pitch, while Rajasthan's main weapons, Archer and Hasaranga, they went for a lot of runs.
Yeah, over 12 runs per over for Archer and over 11 for Hasaranga.
That's just not sustainable.
Maybe they struggled to adapt to the conditions as well as the KKR bowlers did.
Or maybe de Kock was just in such phenomenal form that he could target any bowler he wanted.
Could be both, right?
Yeah, it's probably a combination of factors, but the bottom line is they couldn't control the run rate, and that allowed de Kock to dictate the terms and build that match-winning innings.
Okay, so the pitch itself, it wasn't a complete minefield for the batsmen. The analysis calls it a decent batting surface, but it did offer assistance to the spinners.
Yeah, it wasn't impossible to bat on.
Right.
But KKR spinners, they were just more skilled at using the conditions to their advantage.
And when you have a batsman like de Kock in that kind of form on a pitch that's not overly difficult, it becomes very hard for the bowlers to contain him.
It's a nightmare scenario for the opposition.
And to make matters worse, the weather conditions were perfect. Clear skies, 19 degrees Celsius, the analysis calls it, perfect conditions for cricket.
No excuses for either side.
Right. It all came down to execution and performance on the day, and KKR clearly outplayed Rajasthan in both those departments.
Yeah, they were the better team on the day, plain and simple.
Okay, the analysis also provides the team lineups. Just for context, anything that stands out to you?
Well, it's interesting to see Moeen Ali making his debut for KKR and having such an immediate impact.
Yeah, 2 crucial wickets.
Right, and it's also worth noting that Ryan Parag is captaining the Rajasthan Royals. That's quite a responsibility for such a young player.
But he's a talented lad.
Definitely.
Otherwise, the lineups seem pretty standard. Both sides fielded their strongest 11.
Yeah, no surprises there.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. What's the overarching significance of this match? KKR are off to a flying start, and Rajasthan, well, they have some work to do.
This win is huge for KKR. It gives them so much momentum going forward.
Yeah, they'll be full of confidence.
And for Rajasthan, it's a wake-up call. They need to analyze their mistakes, learn from them, and come back stronger in their next match.
They have the talent. They just need to find their groove.
Look at Zach.
Okay, so just to recap for our listeners, the key takeaways from this match. KKR's decision to bowl first proved to be a masterstroke. Their spinners were absolutely brilliant on that sticky pitch, and they triggered that dramatic collapse for the Rajasthan Royals.
And then de Kock's innings, well, that was just pure magic.
An unbeaten 97, true masterclass.
He single-handedly won the game for KKR.
And Rajasthan's inability to build partnerships and the struggles of their key bowlers that ultimately sealed their fate.
Yeah, they just couldn't match KKR's intensity on the day.
So there you have it, folks, a much deeper understanding of how this match unfolded beyond just the final score.
But here's a thought for you to ponder, considering the pitch conditions and how differently the spin attacks performed. What strategic adjustments do you think Rajasthan Royals should make for their upcoming matches?
Should they change their batting approach against spin? Should they bring in a different bowler who's better suited to those conditions?
It's a tough question, but it's one they need to answer if they want to bounce back from this defeat.
Absolutely. Lots for them to think about as the IPL season continues.
And lots for us to analyze in our next deep dive.
Can't wait until next time.
Me neither.
Thanks for joining us,
It's been a pleasure.
and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
See you then.